1 month before the company's public listing, my husband's childhood sweetheart walked into our home with an air of entitlement, with 3 little boys, triplets, by her side. She declared that I should step down from my position as his wife and accept the role of a concubine. I turned to my husband, demanding an explanation. He looked awkward and hesitated before speaking. William said softly, "Brittany Anderson would make a fine lady of the house, and I would still treat you well. But if you refuse, then we might have to go through with a real divorce." For a moment, I wondered if I had traveled back in time. I let out a cold chuckle. "The company is about to go public. Are you sure you want a divorce now?" I asked sharply. Before William could respond, his mother, Nicole, interrupted. "That is exactly why we want the divorce now," she said with a sneer. "If we wait until after the company goes public, you will walk away with shares. No. We need to do this before that happens." Her voice turned cruel. "You are a barren hen. If you are not willing to become a concubine, then get out. Leave with nothing." I said nothing more. I walked out and filed for divorce that very day. I did not ask for anything in return, but I could not help wondering, without me, what would that so-called company rely on to go public? A few days later, I was in the study, going over the company's financials. I wanted to make sure everything was still progressing as planned, even without my name on the paperwork. Suddenly, I heard loud voices coming from the living room. I thought I heard children talking and laughing, which puzzled me. I closed my laptop and stepped out of the study to see what was happening. There, on the living room sofa, sat a young woman who looked a few years younger than me. She was beaming with pride as she spoke to 3 boys who appeared to be around 4 or 5 years old. "James, John, Ryan," she said, her voice full of triumph. "Do not cry, smile instead, because after today, you will finally be recognized as legitimate sons." The 3 boys were clinging to William and Nicole, calling them Dad and Grandma as if they had always belonged. I blinked, making sure I was not seeing things. When I realized this was no illusion, I walked straight to William, anger and confusion rising inside me. "What is going on here?" I asked sharply, before William could speak. The woman on the couch jumped in. "Let me introduce myself," she said smoothly. "I am Brittany, William's childhood sweetheart and true love. These 3 boys are the result of our love." She did not need to explain much. The scene before me already made the truth clear. But hearing her confirm it out loud still left me stunned and speechless. William, my seemingly devoted husband, had been unfaithful. Not only did he have a mistress, but he had secretly fathered triplets with her. Seeing the color drain from my face, Brittany only grew bolder. "You seem to have some manners, at least," she said smugly. "But I am not the type of woman who throws others out without warning. I came here today to officially announce that you will no longer be the wife. You will now be a concubine." If it had not been for the modern decor of the villa, I would have thought I had stepped into a feudal drama. Who talks like that in this day and age? I took a deep breath, trying to stay calm. I chose not to respond to Brittany. She was a stranger to me. After all, the betrayal was not hers to explain. It was William's. I looked at him, my voice trembling with emotion. "William, is what she says true? Did you betray me?" He looked nervous and quickly pulled James behind him, as if protecting the boy. Then he stammered, "Lauren Moore, being the legal wife or not does not really make a difference. The only thing that changes is the paper. As long as you behave and do not fight with Brittany for attention, I believe she will be a good lady of the house, and I will still treat you just as I always have." He paused, then added, "But if you cannot accept this, then yes, we will go through with the divorce." His words were like a slap in the face. "The company is going public very soon," I reminded him, my voice low and cold. "Are you really sure you want to divorce me now?" When I heard those words, I could not help but let out a soft laugh. Nicole scoffed and said coldly, "That is exactly why we need to clarify everyone's status before the company goes public. If we wait until after the listing, would we not risk you walking away with a share of the company?" She then crossed her arms and continued with a sneer, "But I will admit, our William is not the type to abandon his wife just because he has become successful. Otherwise, someone like you, married for years and not even able to give him a child, would have been kicked out long ago. Just be sensible and divorce him. After the divorce, you can still live in the house. Nicole's voice turned sharp, "but if you choose to be difficult, then we will go through with the divorce anyway. You should know that all the assets are under William's name. If you walk out, you will walk out with nothing. Do not even dream of taking a single cent from my son." It turns out that sometimes, people laugh not because something is funny, but because they are simply speechless. I could not help it. I laughed out loud. Strangely enough, my laughter seemed to relax the three of them. They looked at each other as if they had received the answer they were hoping for. Brittany cleared her throat and said, "Since you have agreed, then kneel down and serve me tea." Her voice was calm but condescending. "Once I drink your tea, it means you have accepted your place as a concubine. You will still have a spot in the Smith household, but," she paused for a moment before continuing, "after the tea, you must go with William to file for divorce, and after the divorce, you will go to the hospital and get a tubal ligation. I consider myself a kind person, but I will not tolerate William having illegitimate children in the future." Her three boys, standing in a neat little row like wind-up toys, chimed in together, "Yes. We do not want siblings from another mother." William, perhaps afraid I might still refuse, quickly added, "The procedure is for your own good. You always said you were scared of childbirth, remember?" He smiled awkwardly, trying to sound reassuring. "See, I told you Brittany would make a great lady of the house." Nicole laughed and grabbed Brittany's hand. "The moment I met Brittany, I liked her so much. She is so much better than that trash Lauren, concubine. Someone like her is not even fit to be a maid in this house," Nicole added with a sneer. Nicole had always disliked me, but I had never heard her speak with such open contempt. I laughed again, this time out of pure disbelief. "And what if I do not agree?" The three of them stared at me, stunned, as if the idea of refusal had never occurred to them. William's face turned pale. "You would refuse? Why, what reason could you possibly have? James, John, and Ryan are growing up. They deserve to have a proper family name. This is not all my fault. You are responsible too." Brittany let out a cold laugh. "If you refuse to kneel, to serve tea, and to get the surgery, then get out of the Smith family. That is right." Nicole added quickly, nodding, "If you do not want to stay and serve us, then walk away with nothing. And do not think I will let you off easy. I have plenty of ways to deal with you." I looked at the three adults and the three children standing in front of me, and all I felt was bitter irony. William and I had fallen in love back in college. Not long after graduation, we got married. Our relationship had always been steady and full of trust. We started our own company during a time of economic growth. I poured my heart and soul into building it, but William was never a capable manager. Several of his poor decisions nearly led the company to collapse a few years ago. Seeing him so distraught, I could not bear to watch him struggle, so I reached out to someone I had sworn never to contact again. My father, the richest man in the region. Looking back now, I realize that my father and William are far more alike than I ever wanted to admit. After my father's business began to thrive, he started resenting my mother, blaming her for not giving birth to a son. Eventually, he divorced her and made the Mistress, who had borne him a boy, his new wife. My mother, heartbroken and worn down by years of humiliation, passed away not long after. I held a deep grudge against my father. I changed my name and cut all ties with him, determined to disappear from his life forever. But years later, when my company was on the brink of bankruptcy, I had no choice but to reach out to him. To my surprise, he agreed to help. He transferred a large sum of money to support my company, which slowly began to recover. Over time, my father, now old and full of regrets, tried to make up for his past. He looked after the business generously, and under his care, my once small company grew steadily, inching closer to going public. For the longest time, I believed that even if every man on earth was capable of betrayal, William would never do that to me. But the truth was, he had been cheating on me for years. I looked at him coldly and said, "William, let us get a divorce. I will walk away with nothing." "Really?" His eyes lit up instantly. I nodded, "Yes, but in truth, once I left, there would be no funding for the company to go public. All that would remain for him was a crumbling business and an ocean of debt." I made myself perfectly clear, but Nicole would not stop questioning me. She narrowed her eyes and asked, "Why would you give up everything so easily?" The company is about to go public. You really expect us to believe you are walking away with nothing? You must be scheming something." I let out a short laugh. "Was it not you who demanded I leave with nothing? Now that I agreed, you are still not satisfied. If you really want to talk about fairness, I can also claim half of the company's assets in the divorce." Nicole turned red with fury. "You shameless woman, dream on. This company belongs to my son. Why would you get half of it?" I smiled and replied, "Because this company would be nothing without me, in the past." I held my tongue for the sake of William's pride, but now, there was no need to pretend. William's face darkened, but he could not find a single word to argue with me. Finally, he muttered, "Fine. Then leave with nothing." Brittany, clearly prepared, eagerly pulled out a divorce agreement. "Words are meaningless. You need to sign this." I skimmed the pages quickly. Once I confirmed there was nothing unusual, I signed it without hesitation. William hesitated for a moment, but eventually signed as well. However, he did not mention finalizing the divorce immediately. Instead, he said, "Let us wait until the company is listed. Right now is a sensitive time. If word of our divorce gets out, it might impact the listing." I agreed without missing a beat. That is fair, after all. If I was capable of bringing a bankrupt company all the way to the verge of going public, I can just as easily ensure it never gets listed. I understand your fear, but let us be clear. If we are not finalizing the divorce now, and I continue to stand beside you for appearances, then I am not walking away with nothing. I want half the company's shares as silent equity." William was still thinking it over, but Brittany and Nicole shouted at the same time, "No." Nicole grabbed William's arm and cried out, "Son, do not listen to this woman's nonsense. She is just bluffing. Those investors only invested because of your reputation. She has nothing to do with it." Brittany rushed over and stood beside William. "Sweetheart, the company got this far because of your abilities. She is just trying to play mind games. You saw how quickly she agreed to leave with nothing. That is a trap. You must not fall for it. If you really want a divorce, it has to be now. If we wait until after the company goes public, she will use it to stir up trouble and take our money. Do you really want to give away our son's future to that woman, just so she can go spoil some other man or raise someone else's child?" As Brittany spoke, she gave James and John a knowing look. It seemed the three boys had been told in advance what to do. Without missing a beat, they rushed over and shoved me aside, then dropped to their knees, clutching William's legs and wailing, "Daddy, I do not want to be a bastard anymore. I want to be your legitimate son. Please, Dad, if you do not divorce her, and she gives you a legitimate child, she will definitely kick us aside. You are amazing, Dad. You do not need her to make the company successful. Do not let anyone take you away from us. I do not want to share my father with anyone." The three children were all talking at once, their voices filled with emotion. William's heart nearly broke as he listened to them cry. He quickly crouched down, his voice soft and urgent. All right, I will get the divorce. Daddy will divorce her right away." As soon as the words left his mouth, Brittany gave me a cold smirk. She leaned closer and said in a low voice, trying to play hard to get with me, "You are not nearly clever enough." She waved her fingers slightly and added, "You see this? These boys are my biggest advantage." Once William had calmed the children down, he turned to me and set a time. We agreed to meet at the registrar's office on Monday. I took one final glance around the house I had lived in for so many years, then walked away without looking back. 2 days passed quickly. I arrived at the registry office as agreed, and the divorce was finalized without any complications. Before the divorce certificate had even cooled in my hand, William and Brittany were already back in line to register their marriage. Brittany held up the marriage certificate and waved it smugly in front of my face. "You knew how to pick your battles," she said with a sneer. "Had you made a scene, this divorce might not have happened. I have to say, I underestimated you." William's face did not share her pride. His eyes were red as he looked at me and said, "Lauren, I know I have wronged you." He paused, then added, "But I am willing to make a promise. If you are willing to work on your temper, you will always be welcome back. My offer still stands. If you return, I am willing to keep you in the house." Nicole, standing nearby, gave me a sidelong glance and spoke in a mock sympathetic tone. Do not blame me and William entirely. Things fell apart between you two, and you share some of the blame." I could not help but roll my eyes. My fault, if I had to admit to anything, it was that I had been too good, too tolerant. I had weathered every storm on my own, and because of that, they lived as if life would always be smooth and easy, like flowers blooming in a greenhouse. But I knew it would not be long before William learned the truth. Without me, life was going to be a very different storm. Seeing that I remained silent, William appeared even more ashamed. He reached into his bag and took out a bank card. "There is $10,000 on this," he said, holding it out. "Take it and find a place to stay." I did not reach for it. Instead, I gave him a gentle smile. "You had better keep it for yourselves. You are going to need it. There will be a lot of unexpected expenses coming your way." William looked startled, but before he could respond, his phone rang. He glanced at the screen, then quickly answered the call. I could not hear what the other person said, but the blood drained from William's face almost immediately. "What? Pulling the investment?" I folded my arms and stayed where I was. I had a feeling something interesting was about to unfold. William, clearly panicked now, pressed the phone tighter to his ear. "They are pulling out. How could they do that now? There is less than a month before the company goes public. Panlong is our biggest source of funding. If they back out, how are we supposed to go public?" Even though Brittany and Nicole did not understand the full details, it was clear from William's tone that something serious had happened. Their expressions changed at once. Brittany, not realizing this was not the time for questions, tugged at William's sleeve. "Darling, what happened? Who is pulling out? Will it affect us?" But William was far too overwhelmed to deal with her. He roughly pushed her aside and shouted, "Get away, can't you see I am busy?" Brittany fell to the floor, and tears welled in her eyes. "You hurt me," she whimpered. "You pushed me." But no one went to comfort her. Even Nicole, who had once looked up to her, simply told her to be quiet. William, nearly in tears now, cried into the phone, "You have to help me understand what is going on. You cannot just tell me the funding is gone and leave it at that. I pay you to solve problems, not throw them at me. You need to get to the bottom of this immediately. I want to know exactly why they are backing out, and do not call Lauren. She is no longer the deputy director of the company. This is your responsibility now." With that, William ended the call. He had intended to leave for the office right away. But the moment he saw the expression on my face, he froze. Then, like a man gone mad, he rushed over and grabbed my arm tightly. William demanded, "Was it you? What did you do?" At least he was not completely foolish. That day, after signing the divorce papers, agreeing to leave the marriage with nothing, I walked out of the villa without taking a single thing with me. The moment I stepped outside, I called my father and gave him a brief explanation of what had happened. My father was furious when he heard that his daughter had fallen for a man just as heartless as the one who once betrayed him. He nearly burst a blood vessel. He immediately wanted to destroy William's company, but I stopped him. I told him to wait until Monday to pull the investment. I knew William far too well. If my father withdrew his money before the divorce papers were finalized, William would immediately suspect that I was behind it all. And while he could no longer hurt me physically or financially, he could still refuse to go through with the divorce, dragging things out just to spite me. So I had to make sure the divorce was done first. Only then could I truly be free of him. William stared at me, his voice growing even more unhinged. "Say something," he shouted. I could see the madness in his eyes. If I admitted it right then, I had no doubt he would completely lose control, maybe even try to take me down with him. So I did not admit anything. I said calmly, "Mr. Smith, what nonsense are you talking about? You told everyone yourself that all those investors were only there because of your reputation. How could I possibly convince them to pull their money out with just a few words?" I added with a sneer. "If I really had that much influence, would I have let you play me for a fool? And while you are so busy blaming me, maybe go check on your new wife." You pushed her to the ground. She must be feeling terribly wronged. That last comment was the final spark. Nicole turned on Brittany in a fury, kicking and hitting her while shouting, "You are a curse. Everything was going fine until you came along. We got married and the next day they pulled out their investment. This is all your fault." Brittany tried to protect her head as she scrambled away, pleading for mercy. her cries, and the spectacle quickly drew a crowd, as more people gathered. I felt I had seen enough of the show. While William was distracted, I quietly turned and walked away from the marriage registration office. In the days that followed, William called me nearly 10 times a day and sent message after message. Desperate to know what had happened to his company, I ignored every call, every message. It did not take long for his tone to change, from begging to cursing. To be honest, I had never been an overly ambitious person. My dream was simply to live a quiet and comfortable life. All the effort I had put in before, all the hard work, had been for William. Now that we were divorced, there was no reason for me to reject the money and the house my father offered me. I had been willing to beg him for William's sake. So why not accept his help for my own future? When my father's assistant came to pick me up and drive me to my new home, I stared out the window and watched as the scenery grew more familiar. It was then I realized something strange. The new villa my father bought for me was in the same gated community as William's. The only difference was, mine was twice the size. We had not driven far into the neighborhood when I ran into an old acquaintance, Brittany. It had only been 2 weeks since I last saw her, but she looked haggard and exhausted. A far cry from the proud and arrogant woman who once demanded I kneel and serve her tea as a new wife. Still, the moment Brittany saw me, she exploded with anger. She snapped, "What are you doing here? Are you here to laugh at me?" I did not answer. I simply looked at the bruises on her face. Making no attempt to hide the amusement in my eyes, her expression darkened. She turned her head away and muttered, "What right do you have to mock me? I am William's wife now. You are the one hanging around after the divorce. That makes you the mistress. It is disgusting." I continued to stare at her, a faint smile playing on my lips. The more composed I was, the more unhinged Brittany became. She screamed, "What are you laughing at? What exactly is so funny? Do you want me to go live and show everyone what kind of homewrecker you are? I will call security and have you thrown out." But before she could grab her phone or summon the guards, William and Nicole appeared from inside the villa. Having heard the commotion, William looked surprised to see me, but he quickly masked it with smugness. He crossed his arms and said coldly, "What are you doing here? Did you finally come to your senses and want to come back as a concubine?" I let out a quiet laugh. "William, if I were you, I would be panicking right now. But look at you, still relaxed enough to worry about what your ex-wife is doing here." He had clearly not expected that response. His face twisted with frustration. He shouted, "Lauren, you," but he could not finish the sentence. His mouth opened and closed, and no words came out. He was speechless. Nicole let out a cold laugh and said, "Lauren, if you are here just to enjoy the show, then you are mistaken. Yes, my son did lose an investor, but he has already found a new one." She folded her arms proudly as she continued, "In fact, my son is working on 2 fronts. Not only has he begun talks with a new group of investors, but he has also gone back to the previous ones and asked them to increase their funding. On top of that, he is still in touch with the senior executives at Panlong Corporation and is negotiating for additional support. My son's company will go public right on schedule. That, I can promise you." William nodded in agreement. "It is true I did not expect Panlong to pull out," he admitted, "but I have already contacted them. Whatever it is you are hoping for, you will not get the chance to laugh at me." I could not help but chuckle. Clearly, William thought that since the Panlong withdrawal was ordered by the chairman, I must have used some underhanded trick to convince them. It was amusing to see him grasping at straws. I smiled and said calmly, "William, you can lie to others and they might believe you, but I am not that gullible. I know very well that you are finished." I leaned in slightly and added, "And let me give you a little reminder, Panlong will never work with you again, so stop throwing yourself at them. You are only embarrassing yourself." William froze for a moment, then, realization lit up his face and he growled, "It was you. You are the reason I lost that investment." This time, I did not deny it. I simply smiled and nodded. "That is right, it was me, but that was never your investment." I continued, "It was mine. I brought Panlong in because I believed in my husband and wanted to help him succeed, but now that you are no longer my husband, I have no reason to help you anymore." Nicole shook her head and muttered to herself, "Nonsense. You are just a spiteful woman." There is no way someone like you could ever pull off something that big. You probably just heard about the failed deal and came here to brag. William chimed in. I admit, you did help the company in many ways, but the Panlong investment. I already looked into that. Only the chairman has the authority to make that kind of decision. There is no way you could have influenced him. Just as I was about to speak, Brittany suddenly shouted, I understand now, it all makes sense. She turned to William with wide eyes and exclaimed, Darling, you always told me that Lauren helped bring in major investors. I used to wonder how she possibly had that kind of power, but now I see it clearly. She must have used her body to seal those deals. As soon as the words left her mouth, William's expression turned dark. He stared at me in disgust and snapped, Lauren, you make me sick. But Nicole, surprisingly, looked pleased. She clapped her hands together. This is perfect, absolutely perfect, son. Your company might be saved after all. William looked puzzled, but Nicole gave him a knowing look. Think about it. The chairman of Panlong is a man of influence and reputation. If he has slept with your wife, how could he refuse to give you a little something in return? William's eyes slowly lit up as he considered her words. I knew exactly what was going through his mind. Before he could speak, I cut in quickly. There is something you should all know. I once changed my name. My birth name is not Lauren, it is Rachel Harris, and that Harris, I said clearly, is the same Harris who is chairman of Panlong Corporation. The moment those words were out, the room fell into stunned silence. All three of them turned pale, worried they might still try to deny it or make a scene. I took out an old family photo. It showed me as a child, standing beside my parents. If you do not believe me, I said, holding out the photo, you can see for yourselves. The three of them studied the picture, and all the doubt vanished from their faces. William's excitement was uncontrollable. This is amazing. My wife, no, my ex-wife, is the daughter of the richest man in the country. I cannot believe it. I was actually the son-in-law of a billionaire. Nicole quickly took my hand with a wide smile. Lauren, no, Rachel, dear, I want you to know that in my heart, you have always been my only daughter-in-law. I have always thought of you as my own daughter. That last line, frankly, was the kind of lie that should have summoned thunder from the sky. Over the years, William and I never had children. Nicole, whether subtly or openly, never missed a chance to bring it up. During our worst arguments, she would go so far as to cry, threaten to harm herself, and even kneel down begging me. Back then, she kept saying she treated me like a daughter. Now, William looked at me with what he thought was affection and said, It does not matter if you are Lauren or Rachel. You will always be the wife I love most. I am ready to remarry you right now, although I had no intention of marrying him again. I still pointed toward Brittany with a mock-surprised tone and said, Oh, you want to remarry me? Then what about the lady of the house over there? William glanced at Brittany with open disgust. She can leave whenever she wants. I do not care. She brings nothing but bad luck. Nicole chimed in with a grin. She cannot hold a candle to you. Brittany was not sure if I truly intended to take William back. But the fear in her eyes was real. She burst into tears, dropped to her knees, and cried, Honey, you cannot do this to me. I gave you 3 sons. How could you just throw me and the boys away? She sobbed harder. You are only doing this because she is the daughter of a billionaire, but you were the one who told me you no longer loved her, that she was too controlling, and that only with me did you feel like a real man. Before she could say more, William stepped forward and kicked her in the side, not hard enough to injure her, but enough to send a message. Shut your mouth, he growled. I am not abandoning my sons, I am just abandoning you. Brittany froze. So did I. For a moment, we were both too stunned to respond. Nicole let out a dry laugh, the wrinkles on her face deepening as she smiled. You silly girl, of course we will remarry. That woman can go, but the children, they must stay. I know you love William, and if you love him, you should also love what he loves. That means accepting those 3 boys. After all, they carry half of William's blood. In the old days, noble wives would raise children born to other women as their own. One day, those boys will see only you as their mother. They will not even remember Brittany existed. William quickly nodded. Yes, dear, the children are still young. Just be kind to them and they will grow up calling you Mom. Think about it. You can become a mother without going through labor. That is something most women can only dream of. I tilted my head slightly and replied slowly, so what you are saying is, you want to get rid of Brittany, marry me, and then have me raise your 3 illegitimate children for you. Nicole clicked her tongue. Clearly irritated, she opened her mouth as if to argue, but caught herself and changed her tone. They are not illegitimate. Once you come back, they will be yours. I could not hold it in anymore. I laughed even harder. William, thinking I was laughing out of joy, quickly leaned in to press his advantage. Honey, there is no rush with all that. What matters most right now is that you call your father and get him to invest in us. He lowered his voice and added, we might argue about many things, but this is business. This is important. I nodded calmly. All right, I will make the call. With that, I picked up my phone and, right in front of the 3 of them, dialed my father's number. William and Nicole looked at me with hopeful eyes. Brittany watched with despair. When the call connected, I wiped the smile off my face and said coldly into the phone, Dad, why does William's company still have investors? You said you would stand up for me. Is this what you meant by standing up for me? I made myself very clear. I want William ruined. I do not want him going public. I want him drowning in debt. I want him to lose everything. Then I hung up the call. The room went dead silent. It took William and Nicole a full minute to grasp what I had just said. When they did, their faces turned red with rage. Lauren, are you insane? William shouted. That is our company. You poured your heart into it too. Do you really want to see it fall? Are you not going to feel even a little regret? I shrugged. Not at all. If I had the ability to build one company, I can build a second and a third. Why would I let a man like you enjoy the fruits of my labor? I spent sleepless nights keeping that company alive, while you were out having secret affairs and fathering children behind my back. Tell me, what did you take me for? Why would I ever continue being your stepping stone? Nicole looked like she was about to faint. But I treated you like a daughter. Enough, I snapped. You know very well how you saw me. William knows too. There is no need to stand here and lie to yourselves. You do not even realize how pathetic you sound. I had rarely spoken to them this sharply before. For a moment, they had no response. Then, as if pushed to the edge, they both lunged at me. Before they could lay a hand on me, the bodyguards behind me stepped forward and blocked them instantly. The bodyguard never had to lift a finger. All it took was a silent display. His fists, the size of soup pots, and biceps like cannonballs. In an instant, William and Nicole's anger evaporated. Before they could figure out how to deal with me, William's phone rang. His face was already dark as he answered it. This time, I stood close enough to hear everything. Even without speakerphone, the voice on the other end sounded panicked. Mr. Smith, you need to do something. Fast. I do not know what happened. But all the other investors have suddenly pulled out. That is not all. The bank that had agreed to extend our credit has just frozen all lending. And now, even the landlord has demanded we vacate the building. The power and water have been shut off. Our office cannot function anymore. All the staff have walked out. William did not even finish listening. His phone slipped from his trembling hands and hit the floor with a clatter. The proud man who had once promised to make me the mistress of the house and raise children together no longer had anything to say. He understood immediately. This was the power of one phone call, of being the daughter of the wealthiest man alive. He dropped to his knees, tears welling up in his eyes. My love, he said, voice shaking. I was wrong. I was completely wrong. Please forgive me. I do not need those children. I just want you. Please, call your father. You know what will happen if I go bankrupt. I will lose everything. I smiled gently. That is not true. You will still have all your debts. Nicole, hearing this, did not kneel. Instead, she flew into a fit of rage, lunging at Brittany and attacking her violently. I suddenly realized, those wounds I had seen before must have come from her. She screamed as she hit her. This is all your fault. You seduced my son. You brought ruin to our family. You are going to pay for everything. My dear daughter-in-law, she cried out in madness. I will kill this wretched woman today. Once she is gone, my son will calm down, and we can be a family again. William, though he had caused all of this, quickly shifted the blame onto Brittany, siding with his mother to make her the scapegoat. But I never truly hated Brittany. Whether she had seduced William on purpose or they had fallen in love naturally, it no longer mattered to me. Temptation exists everywhere in this world. I had my own admirers, but I had chosen to remain faithful. William, on the other hand, had failed to uphold even the most basic respect for our marriage. I cleared my throat. Brittany, do you still not understand? William has lost everything. He is drowning in debt. What are you waiting for? Brittany froze, and then, all at once, something snapped in her. She shoved William and Nicole away with surprising strength. Get out of my way, both of you. You are trash. Then she turned to me. Lauren, you may not believe this, but I actually knew William before you did. But he thought I had no future. He believed you were useful. That is why he married you. He never loved you. He used you. William exploded. You liar. Shut your mouth. If you say one more word, I will make sure you never see your son again. Brittany rolled her eyes. Are you crazy? Why would I need your permission? That child is not even yours. Who gave you the right to claim him? William shook his head in denial. No, you are lying to me. That is impossible. I raised a hand to stop him. I do not think she is lying. I had some medical exams in the past, and I was perfectly healthy. But you, on the other hand, you had a low sperm count. The odds of you fathering triplets were always suspicious. William and Nicole were completely undone. It finally hit them. They had betrayed me, the daughter of a tycoon, for 3 children who were not even William's, and the woman who had lured them away was not who they thought she was. As they scrambled to beg for my forgiveness, I gestured for the bodyguards to hold them back. I turned and calmly walked away, returning to the more spacious, elegant villa that now belonged to me. Inside, the 3 boys, James, John, and Ryan, were chattering away, calling William Dad and Nicole Grandma. Completely unaware that none of them shared a drop of blood, I never saw William again, not because he did not try, but because I refused to let him near me, to avoid any further contact. I took a private jet abroad and began a much-needed vacation. After all those years of hard work, I deserved a break. Still, I knew everything that happened afterward. After all the investors pulled out and the bank stopped lending, William's dream of taking the company public collapsed. Once word spread that he had offended the richest man in the country, every business partner abandoned him. Within 6 months, the company was finished. William was buried in nearly $300 million of debt. Every asset under his name was frozen. He was penniless and left wandering the streets. He tried to find work, but no one would hire a man who had made an enemy of the most powerful businessman around, unless he was willing to work as a laborer on a construction site, which, for a man used to luxury, was a fate worse than death. Nicole suffered a stroke and was left paralyzed, unable to care for herself. William, consumed by bitterness, swore to take revenge on Brittany. But by then, it no longer mattered whether those children were his or not. He could not divorce her. He only pressured her to find more money. But Brittany was not me. She had no influence, no resources, and no powerful father to call. Before long, she disappeared with the children, leaving behind a paralyzed Nicole and a useless, broken William. Eventually, William grew so desperate and worn down that he let Nicole starve to death. He was arrested for manslaughter and sentenced to prison. In some twisted way, that may have been the best thing for him. At least there, someone would make sure he got fed, even behind bars. William continued to write to me, begging for forgiveness, pleading for a visit, but I never replied, because I had a far better life waiting for me. Thank you for watching today's story. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up and share it with your friends. We'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments below, so feel free to share your opinions, and don't forget to subscribe to our channel for more great stories. We'll see you in the next video.